All right, the topic of this video focuses on checks on presidential power. This is how the other two branches, both the legislative branch and the judicial branch, have the ability really to serve as a check on unlimited use of presidential power. So formal checks are things that we can find in the Constitution. And again, informal checks are some other way that power is being restricted. So let's do the ones that involve Congress first. Like we've already sort of looked at these a little bit. Obviously, Congress can pass laws that restricts presidential power. One of the ones we talked about earlier in the year was the War Powers Resolution. This was passed following the Vietnam War. It was a law that allowed the president to take military action without getting congressional approval. But if there's any kind of like long-term use of that like military power, you would have to basically notify Congress, and it would have to end without getting a congressional approval. So there's like laws that Congress passes that restrict the power of the president. Obviously, the impeachment process. The House of Representatives has the ability to formally file charges against the president. That's impeachment. And then the Senate actually holds the trial. So we've seen that happen a couple times in the last couple of years. Obviously, a president can veto laws. But then the check is that Congress can override those vetoes. In order to pass the law in the first place, you just needed 51% of Congress to agree. If the president vetoes the law, it requires now 2/3 to override a presidential veto, but it's possible. Obviously, the president appoints people to like the Supreme Court or cabinet like leadership positions, but it requires approval from the Senate before those people actually get their jobs. The Senate's responsible for approving all treaties, and then Congress has to approve like the president's budget. So remember, that's a shared responsibility. The president can sort of like give his like wish list of how he wants money to be spent, but it's ultimately Congress that comes up with the budget, and then the president either agrees with that and signs it into law each year, or he vetoes the budget proposal, and Congress has to like try again. And then the other major thing that Congress can do is that Congress can propose amendments. Like, for example, the 22nd Amendment limits presidential power because it restricts a president to only 2 full terms. So these are all ways in which Congress can formally check the power of the president. All of these things you could find in the Constitution.